Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Nelson and I am with TUG. It's great to have you join us today for our TUG Connects 365 programming. Now, as you settle in and get ready for the start of today's webinar, let me give a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org, for both our current members and those of you who represent organizations that have not yet joined our online community of Infor distribution software users. Now, we've all heard that phrase, knowledge is power, and I can say with confidence that after today's presentation, you'll have a little bit more of both. Today is one of those in-depth presentations, so we're looking forward to great content today. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. That is a winning and powerful combination. If you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, we have Andy Weith, who is the founder and originator of ASW Global Consulting, along with Gord Crober from Kerr Controls. And Gord, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thanks, Gloria. Midsummer, hello to everybody. It's like it is here in Truro, Nova Scotia, where you live. It's hot and maybe busy, depending on your industry. We have these WMS enhancement request reviews periodically, and Andy and I have been watching to see if there's been enough fodder for discussion, and we're at that point now. Thanks to Tyler Johnson, who actually put in a few recently after I put a little suggestion out on the forum. So thank you. And Tyler also gave me a tip at the same time. So double thanks. Just a couple of comments, I guess. I know a little funny story on my end. I was working in the warehouse this week. So an old boss of mine used to say, you either work on the process or in the process. And my career as an industrial engineer, I've done both. And as manager of a distribution center at a time of peak volume for Kerr and some labor challenges, I was unloading containers this week. So Andy and Gloria saw me yesterday in my grubs and a bit sweatier than today. So it was 12,000 kilograms we unloaded out of that container, myself and another fellow, and the forklift picked up our goods. 12,000 kilograms for those in the US it's a 2.2 multiplier. So, you know, 25,000 plus pounds. So we're looking more like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson around here these days. What else can I say? Andy is our subject matter expert. Andy's got a wealth of experience, years and years in TWL particularly, but lots of WMS experience with Infor product. And so he has the ability to kind of guide through these ERs, help explain them maybe in a slightly different way and more depth. And that's the goal here, is to get exposure and understanding, and ideally get some more endorsements. So remember, endorsements is what it's all about with ERs. If you want it part of the software in future versions, they got to get in here. Thanks to those who do socialize them on the forum. The more of that, the better. I know it can be busy out there. I'm busy lately, so it's been a kind of a crazy summer in my world, where we went from a lull to a storm. But the working on the process, back to that's what the ERs are all about. So what can we do to fix the software? Because sometimes, no matter what we do, it's the little glitches or things that just don't work quite right that can be improved. What else? Socialize. Gloria covered most of the other stuff. I think that's it. I'll be watching the questions, and Gloria's going to watch some chat. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves, any topics. And if we get enough questions or the content, you know, is specific, that will help. So don't hesitate to ask questions. I guess that's it from me. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
Super, sure. And I'll take off from there and make the statement here that we do on each one of these webinars, that is, this is your conduit for suggesting improvements to the software. Especially for something where the user community is smaller than an ERP. the software company Infor in this case is making enhancements to the software that they deem necessary, that they feel their software needs to support, or industry trends they see going on. And so they've got their development team working on that stuff, and they also have an ear out to enhancement requests. And that's what we're going to show you today. TUG in particular, this is one of the great benefits of this user community, is to kind of gang up on the software company and say, hey, you know, this isn't just my problem. I'm going to put it in here, and like Gord said, we're going to talk about it. We'll post it out to the community site. We'll get all these folks involved. Today, when we're looking through these and talking about them, we encourage you to be on the site and voting on them right now, hopefully endorsing them and adding a tick in that endorsed box. And Infor is going to be reviewing these and seeing what we're endorsing as a community, and hopefully putting those solutions into the product. So this is the way it needs to be done, and we should get together and do it, is the point. I do want to go over some more basics for those of you that haven't attended one of these or aren't familiar with the enhancement request site. You simply need a login to Infor Extreme. So that is the portal to log incidents, download documents, download software, so on and so forth. The enhancement request system is also there. So I have this open right here. And if you're a web UI user, this UI, this format of everything should look very similar. This little waffle, as some call it, or the grid up here, is where you would go to Infor Concierge to review documents, download piece of information, so on and so forth. The Infor support portal you should be familiar with, or maybe your IT department, they're submitting and managing tickets there. Enhancements is the one we're talking about today, and if you click on that one, once you're logged in, it's going to bring you here to this enhancement request system. There is a caveat to this, though, for those of you that might be on the call and are not current users of TWL. You have to be licensed for the product to be able to see enhancement requests for it. So that might limit your scope of what you can see in here. The different product lines that are available are in here, and the product itself. So if you're on and you're wondering, how come I can't see TWL enhancement requests you're talking about? If you're not a licensed user right now, that would be why. So once we're logged in, we get here. There's another thing we want to show you, which is the bucket here for selected products is for TWL is actually in 3 different groups. So you do have to select all of them to be able to bring up all the enhancement requests. There are also the ability to add enhancement requests about the enhancement request system. So if there's some functionality in here that you're not a big fan of, or something like this has happened, where why are there 3 different buckets if it's all talking about the same thing? Can we consolidate them and have this make more sense? You can add an enhancement request to the enhancement request system. All right, just some navigation stuff. So once we have this list brought up, the default view, sorry, let me get my panel out of the way. The default view is to bring in just the open enhancement requests, but you can view those that have been accepted or in progress, or all of them all together. We're just focused on new ones, so we've got that trimmed down. But if you want to see what has been put in the past and Infor is working on, you can select a different view. Similar to what you'd see in web UI or on the internet in general, something that's highlighted in blue is a link, and in this case, it is a link to something I have yet to see. I have yet to look at. These ones that are all in black are also links. The underline over here on the number will take me into that enhancement request, but I have previously viewed those. So that's why there's blue and black. And then let's take a moment to talk about what we do with these. So I'm going to go back to a previous one that has a whole bunch of votes on it. Oh, of course. Hold on one second. Pardon for this. I can talk through it while I'm doing this. And that is the different choices in there are basically red light, green light, yellow, right? So what we're saying is, I approve this. I think this is a great idea. Yeah, we should do this. Or I think we definitely should not do this. Or it's fine. It's not really going to affect me in one way or the other. I'm almost there. And you can change your vote as well. So if previously the way that it was documented and written up, you had concerns, oh, this is gonna affect the way my business operates and use this particular function, you could reject it, and then someone could amend what was in there and make a change, and now you re-review it and change your vote. Let me get back and hit play. We should be back where we were. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so here's me selecting all three. It's trimmed my list. There's 24 requests out there in the TW buckets. I've got it sorted by the create date because I want the most current ones out there for us to review. And then we were gonna go look at something like this guy with all these endorsements on it. Right, so you'll see here we've got 4 endorsements. That means 4 people have given this the thumbs up, right? And you can see them over on the right side who that was and if they made any comments about it as well, if they rejected it. And we do encourage you, if you reject something, give an explanation why. This is going to break my process XYZ. Or acknowledge it means, and as you should see, sure, sounds like a good idea, but I don't really care about this too much because we don't even maybe use that function, right? Hopefully that all makes sense. All right. Where's the rest of my list here? As to entering an enhancement request, how to do it, the recommendation is to not try and tell Infor how to fix the problem, really to just state the business case and what is broken, what doesn't work for you, what needs to be improved, but not focus so much on how to improve it. Ultimately, they'll figure out the best way to do it. They might solicit some information from you or those that have marked it as an endorsement and say, you know, how do you think we should do this? But overall, they got to take into account a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on, and they'll figure out the solution to it. So really just state the business case. This doesn't work for me currently because of this, and then list any workarounds that you have. But that should be the bulk of your time spent there. Lastly, we want to talk about how to share this and promote it. So once you've done this, once you've put in the enhancement request, we want to promote it, and the easiest way that we've found to do this is on the TUG Communities site. And there happens to be a warehouse management systems group on the TUG community site. If you're not familiar with this, as a TUG member, this is a part of what you're paying for. This forum is free for anyone at your company to use. You can have as many people signed in with logins as you would like, and we encourage you to do that as well. There are different groups for finance, WMS, e-commerce, so on and so forth, and not all of those groups relate to everyone in your organization. So get people on, use this. If you're not a TUG member, this is a great reason why to become one. This online community is a way to stay in touch and post questions and get answers to things online year-round, not waiting for the conference to get all the information on new products or processes or solutions to you. So within the group, you would go in there and post, and you've seen Tyler, Gord mentioned previously, has been posting some stuff on here. So he links to an enhancement request there, and also after creating a brand new one, posted the link out here as well. And if you click on it from the TUG community site, it will open right up on the Infor enhancement once you're logged in, or you'll have to log in first if you're not logged in already. And that really makes it as easy as possible. If you want people to jump on and support this and endorse it, you know, putting the link right there on the TUG community site is a great way to get people in easily to support this. Okay, I think that is the list, all the background info, all the stuff we wanted to share. Now we're just going to dive into the new requests we've had over the past few months. And we start out at this one from April, 55,495. And so Pilot Travel Centers submitted this and stated that during the receiving process, we want to be able to add an expiration date at the time of receiving. Currently, the system is showing an expiration date from the date of receipt. There's a standard, how long do you want something to expire based on the date of receipt. They can go in, do this, that, and the other, but it really doesn't solve the problem. I'm not super familiar with exactly what they're looking for here, but did want to go into the system and kind of show the functionality that is available and could be worth exploring. Under an item record, we'll be able to go into the item record and look at, once we mark a product lot controlled, that there's enhanced functionality behind that. So if you're familiar with the lot control functionality, that's on the item record in SX or CSD, and that says we want to track lots, like different die lots or what have you. And a lot of folks are using that same lot control functionality for expirable material. And there is some additional functionality that you can see in here that I can calculate an expiration date upon receiving. I can say what that is in here and have it calculate for me, or I can input the actual expiration date during receiving. So as I'm performing the receipt for the inventory, it will say what is the expiration date of this product. At least that's the way that I understand it. We'd have to explore it a little bit more. I'm going to mark that one down. Our team did this on the last webinar. Any questions that there were, or some functionality that was in question, how does this work, or can you walk us through it? We took some screenshots, walk through, and on the next webinar, we'll kind of present this information. Here's how you could be maybe doing this with the functionality that's in there right now. So if you're on right now, take the time. Please do decide if you want to endorse, acknowledge, or reject. Again, endorse, great. Please spend your development hours putting this in. Acknowledge, I think it's a great idea, but it doesn't really positively impact me. Reject, please don't do this. If this is part of the standard TWL software, it's gonna not work so well for me. Okay. And I feel like something has changed in the navigation here where I can't just go to the next enhancement request. If someone is much more familiar with this than I am, please tell me what I'm doing wrong. I gotta do this all over again.
When I was in it the other day, Andy, the window sort of stays live, and then you go back if you're in two windows, and then you click it and you don't know it's updated. If you go back, it should be there.
Like a new tab?
Kinda.
Okay, we'll see if I can do better next time. All right, so next one's 56918. And Gord, you're keeping an eye on the questions, right? The format for these TUG 365 webinars is to take pauses at different times in the webinar and field some questions. The way we wanted to do it here was, pause for a second after each one of these and see if there's any questions or comments to address. So I see some flashing orange lights.
I don't see any questions. Oh, yes I do. Just, there you go, something flashed. Okay, so I'm gonna explode that up. Oh, just some tips on your navigation from Miriam Berman. I think it's because you got that ER from the TUG link, not within the ER application. Could be.
Makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well,
thanks, Miriam.
Look at me having a problem and it's solved 5 seconds later, and I didn't even have to pay someone to get that answer. Cool, let's go into the next one then if there's nothing else. 56918, add search by wave in staging location inquiry F8. If you're not familiar with this functionality, I know there's not too many companies that use it. After you have pulled some material for your orders, whether you're pick to tote or pick to carton, you can stage the material. So you can hit a function on the device and say, I'm staging this material here. And in particular, where it's used most often, just like in this enhancement request, we split up our picking into 2 different groups. Someone's gonna pick the small stuff, someone's gonna pick the big stuff at the same time. Someone's gonna finish first, obviously, right? So when they're done, we want them to drop off their stuff, say that they're staging it, scan a location, there it is. And then when the person comes from picking the big parts or what have you, they can do the same process and essentially be told where the other half of their order is, right? Logic makes sense. However, if you're picking by wave instead of by order, I'm actually dropping off a wave's worth of material, or I'm focused on a wave, I'm picking all the orders for truck 1 or what have you. That's how I need to find the material and reconcile it and get it all together. So can we do it by wave number instead of by order or container? And I did want to pause on this one and kind of show the screens. Like I said, some folks aren't too familiar with this functionality. So F7 puts it into a staging location. You would scan your container. I've got an example here. 1, 5, 3, 7, 7, 9, 8. And as I'm staging, it's going to show me what else is staged and in what places, and I can go up here and I can see this container is for this customer, so on and so forth, this order, a whole bunch of information, right? And the other function is F8, and that's just an inquiry on a particular container. So really neither of these get me what I want, because I want to do an inquiry on the wave, right? I want to put in a wave number here, and I want you to tell me where all the material is for this wave. Obviously some complications if this wave has material staged in multiple locations. We need to overcome that, but you know, either or, the current software doesn't support this, but this is the way that we pick orders, and I'm sure many other companies do, and they certainly do pick by wave. And we want this functionality to be improved to make this a little bit smoother. Super. So please take a moment, endorse, acknowledge, or reject. I still can't see how to get, I guess we're just going back to this.
We are seeing an endorsement, one from me and one from Kathy there so far, so that's nice.
Sweet. All right, I see another flashing orange light. We got a question or comment about that one before we move on? Maybe that's old comment. I think we're good. All right, next one is this guy. 5.7, slow to update screen. 5.7.365 from Hisco. When orders are dropped to TWL, there are situations where basically the pick is created in a different unit of measure than we would expect. The OE line asks for a case, but the pick is created for eaches or vice versa, and causes some confusion. Our suggestion here from Hisco is the unit of measure should always be the same as is on the order or transfer, whatever it is that we're picking. So if someone wants 1 case of 12, don't tell us 12 each, you should tell us 1 case. There's no workaround. Folks get confused, as you can imagine, if they're used to picking by cases and they get a pick that says 12, they're gonna go out there and pick 12 cases and maybe not pay attention that it said 12 each, right? On this one, I'm not entirely sure, but the proposed solution looks like they've actually dug into the programming as well to see what is happening here. I've not heard too many issues around this, so I'm very curious to explore it further and do some testing internally, see if we run into the same situation. But if you're familiar with the options in TWL, you can basically force everything to be reduced to the stocking unit of measure, so you'd pick everything by each. Or you can do multi-unit of measure, which what Hisco is saying here is supposed to be honoring the way the document was entered. If a purchase order was entered for 10 cases and there's 12 to a case, I won't see 120 each on the receipt. I'll see 10 cases of 12, and it shows you the math on the screen. All right, any questions or comments? Otherwise, please endorse or acknowledge. We're gonna look into this guy.
Yeah, I know unit of measure has come up a lot with SX.e and TWL users. My own experience has been that can be buggy in TWL and cycle counts, and anything, in my opinion, that helps the UOMs is good, but I guess dig into it, Andy.
Good stuff. There's one more thing I'll add on to this, and that is really something we didn't know very well or understand until a short time ago, and that is even with multi-unit of measure enabled, TWL is storing the inventory in the unit of measure that was transacted. So even if someone did receive a case of 12, if when they performed the put away or the last stock adjustment at the bin location or something, they converted it to each, then the inventory record would be stored in each. Anyone using multi-unit of measure already should understand that whenever you look at inventory, it's always showing you the quantity in the stocking unit. So you'd see 120 units always, but over to the side, there is a unit of measure related to that inventory record, and it might say that it is stored in the bin in eaches or in cases. And depending on how that is showing, if you want to do a cycle count or a pick or something like that at the bin, that can be controlling why you're seeing it at 120 each versus 10 cases of 12. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Any questions, comments, anything on that?
I was just looking. I don't think so.
All right.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Let's do this next one here. You got one? Are we good? Okay, 57976 from TestEquity. So they're using a third-party shipping solution, it looks like, right? And they ship a lot of direct warehouse transfers. If you're not familiar with that functionality, normally if you're selling something to a customer, it's a sales order. It's through the OE module, right? And if you're sending something to one of your other warehouses or a branch, you're using a warehouse transfer. There is a type of warehouse transfer that's similar to a purchase order that can be shipped directly to the customer. You can pick, pack, and ship a warehouse transfer that goes directly to the customer. So it sounds like they're using that functionality where they took an order, they tied it to a transfer, and they said, don't ship it to me though, ship it directly to the customer. So when they do that, they put in the ship via freight terms, all that jazz in there, but that doesn't get passed through the standard API call to Logicor. Therefore, all the direct WTs, they don't get this information and it doesn't pass along. So if we know it cost us $23 to ship that package on the WTDO, that doesn't get moved over to the sales order and billed to the customer, and we're losing out. We're eating the freight on all that. There is no workaround. We need the API updated so it's passing this information. It's a great suggestion. Super. Any questions or comments? Now's the time. Otherwise, please endorse, acknowledge, or reject. And again, realize for this one in particular, this isn't really a Logicor or the shipping solution issue. This is the Infor API to pass this information. So if you're using some other third-party shipping solution, you've either solved this in some other way, or you have this problem as well, and an improvement to the API would solve the problem, hopefully for your shipping solution as well. All right, we good? Let's keep rolling. All right, next one's 59130 from our friend Tyler, who we're talking about a lot today, from Industrial Supply. We have, this is one of the most fantastic enhancement requests I think I've seen before, right? So you're in the order manager, you are putting together a list of orders that you want to drop in a wave, because you know it's much more efficient to go pick 12 orders at once rather than picking one order at a time, right? So you go through all that trouble, you figure out what 12 orders to group together. This is going to be great. This person's going to do a fantastic job. Boom, one of the orders has an inventory problem and the rest of the wave proceeds to drop. So 11 of your 12 orders drop, but that 12th order had 35% of the lines for that wave, and now you just basically wrecked your entire wave. It's not as an efficient of a wave pick as you were planning on it, and now it's too late. You can't do anything about it other than undrop all those other orders and start over again. It would be nice if the software would say, hey, I'm about to drop these, but I looked and you're going to have an inventory problem. You might want to hold off, find another 12th order, and then I'll create a wave for you. So that's the explanation. There is one comment here about the exceptions screen, and I wanted to clarify one thing. Some of the exceptions are only in the exception manager, and some of them are back available in undropped as well. So pardon for this being GUI if many of you are on web UI, but basically you're going to the same place. You're going to get yourself to the order manager. And if I view my exceptions over here, there's a few options, right? We zero picked something. There's also orders that were skipped on drop. And if you have your parameters set in the way that if an order doesn't have enough inventory to allocate a pick, it will skip the order on drop. These orders will also be found in the undropped. You don't need to manage them from here. So this 541 order ending in 541, if we go back to the undropped orders in here, we should see it. I probably scrolled right past it, or I wrote it down wrong. It's this guy right here, I think, right? So it's still an undropped, and that might be catching you on something as well, repeatedly going in there and creating waves and not realizing that you keep selecting the same order that's already been skipped on drop. That can be a little confusing at times as well. All right, any questions or comments on that one? We'll take a pause. That was 59.
Nothing came up. Sorry, I was muted there because I was tapping as I vote.
Okay.
Nope.
Nope. All right.
That is a good one.
Cool. Let's do the next one here. 59-140. Pallet audit history. So if you're using the reports within TWL, you're already familiar that they're limited in scope and functionality as well. And one of the reports that does exist is essentially a pallet audit, right? It should show you all the activity on a given pallet ID. Unfortunately, there's no option to sort or filter once you're in that report or as you're generating the report. It just kind of creates it for you. And the design is to put it in order by the item on the pallet as opposed by time. So if you've been using this pallet for 6 months, the report isn't going to be too helpful because you're going to have to jump from item to item to try and figure out what's going on. I wanted to show this one as well, just so you're familiar with where it is and what it looks like. I couldn't find a fantastic example. That's not the right spot. Activity report by pallet. You basically put in your pallet ID. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then put in the date range that you want, how long you want it for. I want to see the activity in this pallet for that period of time. And if I remember correctly, there were a couple items that have been on this pallet. Hopefully this report generates quick enough. And you'll indeed see that it is sorted, and really it's broken or grouped by item. And what we'd really want to see is an entire list of the activity on the pallet by timestamp, so we could go back and say, oh, something happened between 8 and 8:30 yesterday. Here's what went wrong. Let's not wait for that. The idea behind this, if I'm understanding what Tyler's saying, is, you lose something. A pallet went out with 10 items on it and you only put away 9. When you come back, you're wondering what happened to the 10th item. Well, if you could audit that pallet and look back through those last 10 transactions, you'd see I was at bin F and then I was at bin M. So where I lost that last item has got to be between those two bins somewhere. That's where I'll go look, but you don't get the report in that format. It's not by transaction time, it's by item. Let's see if it came up. It didn't. So let's move on. Take this time again, questions or comments, please. Otherwise, endorse, acknowledge, reject. And we got one more. We're doing great on time. I'll give it a pause for Gord. Any questions that came through?
No questions.
Super.
Quiet group. Don't be shy. No silly questions.
All right. Last one we've got for today. 59313. This is from Halron. Kathy says TWL set up to receive in case quantities. When the user receives to put away, all quantities are in eaches. So there is supposed to be a multi-unit measure functionality for put away, and there certainly is. You can use different units of measure in put away, but for some reason the default during put away, even if someone received it in cases, is to convert it to eaches, and the person performs the put away in eaches. And that is based on how the stocking unit of measure is set on the product record, the ICSP record, which we're probably not going to be changing that. So we need another solution. Right on. Hopefully I stated that well, Kathy. I know you're listening. So that's 59,313. Any other questions or comments on that one or anything we went over today? Please, now is the time. Like Gord said, don't be shy. All right. And if there is not anything, you know, what I'll end on here or wrap with is, you know, we're looking to improve this. We're doing this for the benefit of everyone attending and those that are going to watch this recording here. So what Gord and I and TUG really have been juggling is when's the appropriate time to do this. We need enough enhancement requests in there. We don't want to get everyone together for 2 enhancement requests, nor can we do 35 all at once. That will take an hour and a half. So when we get 5 or 6 is kind of what puts the timeline together for us. And also, this is the format we've been doing, kind of just going through them, running through, providing an explanation. If something sounds a little fishy, we take down some notes. Maybe we'll go test that out and report back to you. And then if it makes sense to show something on screen, kind of have TWL available to the side to show you the report or the screen or the function if you're not super familiar with it. So that's what we've been working with so far. We've made changes, I think, you know, from each one to the next based on your suggestions. So please provide those. We're always looking for feedback. And that's it for me. Gord, you got anything?
No, I realize this is middle of summer and there's lots going on. I don't know if it's 2020 factor or what, but you know, it'd be great to see a bigger audience. We'll try to as we head into the fall and the like. Get things going more with the group. There'll be other webinar content planned. We are still, I can't say a whole lot at this point, but we are still working on a potential virtual on-site WMS event, but nothing confirmed at this time. And obviously it's a challenging year. Those are great conferences, we used to call them. Now that's what we call it, a summit, I think, in the fall, on-site summit. I hope to see real faces again some year, but not likely this year. But we're all in it together here in the WMS world. So, you know, I'll just put it out there. Anything at all you want to suggest, feel free to reach out to me directly. I like to get feedback on how to do things better. Yeah, we're just the stronger the group and the more contribution, the more we all get out of it. So, and special thanks to Andy for doing this. He's a busy guy, and we're on both sides of North America here. So it's the end of my day and sort of somewhat the beginning of his, and everybody's probably in between somewhere. So have a great rest of the summer, everybody, and thanks a lot.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye now.